Hey, welcome to the Healthy AF podcast. We all know that health is complex and multifaceted. Amy Chang and Fran Paradine are here to break it down, talk it up, and learn from a whole slew of really amazing guests. Fran and Amy are both health coaches, and just like health, their practices and viewpoints are individualized. You'll hear different takes on the same information as they discuss all things health, and you'll learn with them as they talk with guests who explore all different areas of health. Every episode will be fun, informative, and entertaining. If you like what you hear, please follow us and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy AF podcast. We are excited to have Pete Nappier with us today. Just a little bit of background about Pete before we jump into the really cool stuff that he's doing. Pete is the founder and owner of Samurai Institute, LLC in Hickory, North Carolina. He grew up in Hickory and he graduated from Hickory High School. Pete spent 3 years in the Army and then graduated from CVCC with a degree in business administration and furniture manufacturing. He spent 38 years in the furniture industry, and throughout all of that, he has been studying, excelling in, and teaching martial arts. So Pete currently is a 9th degree black belt. I don't know a lot about martial arts, but that sounds pretty impressive. And he has a title of Kaicho?
Kaicho, yes.
All right. Pete has been running the Samurai Institute for about 2 years since COVID. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. In Hickory. He's very active in the community. He has 6 children, 4 stepchildren, and 4 grandchildren. So he's super, super busy. And somehow in his free time, he makes traditional Japanese training weapons for martial artists all over the country. So welcome, Pete. We're really excited to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I want to start out by asking you how you got interested in martial arts, because I think this will kind of lead us into a discussion of why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, I got started back in 1969, and I was getting picked on in school. My dad, I don't know, he had a weird sense of humor and threw me in a karate school and sat there and laughed as they used me for a punching bag for about 2 years. So that was the beginnings. Then after I got a black belt in karate, I went and found an art called Aikido. And Aikido is all defensive. And I started that in 1974 and just kind of fell into it and went and kept it going forever. Right now, I'm the only Aikido instructor in Hickory anymore. There used to be a couple other guys, but they kind of faded away. But that's pretty much my background. I got lucky back in the 90s and found a sword instructor from California. He kind of wanted to know why I could put a sword on him and nobody else could. So he made me his one of his students, and I studied with him for about 18 years and got decent with a sword, and that's kind of where I make those training weapons from as well, kind of picked up from that. But that's pretty much the way I got started.
Okay, it's a long history.
I guess.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Pete, can you describe? You said you got started in Aikido, which is defensive.
Yeah.
Can you describe what that is a little bit more?
Okay. Yeah. Aikido was an art that came from another martial art. It was created in 1926 by a man named Morihei Ueshiba, and Ueshiba Sensei, he took what he learned from an art called Daito-ryu Aikijitsu and formulated it to more self-discovery, more about learning about yourself as a person and growing as a person. And that's kind of the philosophy it is. It's all peaceful. There's no attacks in Aikido. There's no punches, kicks, or fighting. Everything is done from a defensive standpoint where if somebody attacks you, you're able to get them down on the ground and under control without you getting hurt or them getting hurt. And that's the unique thing. Everybody kind of walks away okay.
So it's about de-escalating the situation as opposed to kicking someone's ass.
Right.
Okay. And so that's what you teach?
Yes. Yeah. That's the core art. That's what everybody starts with is Aikido. And it gives them a good foundation of what techniques to use and how to use them, how to take balance and break balance, things like that. And then we evolve into the weapons part of it, the swords and the sticks and different stuff. All samurai stuff.
Okay.
I love that. All the samurai stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the lipstick, the blush, the Kleenex pack, all the purse stuff.
Yeah.
All the weapons, all the knives, all the swords, all the sticks, all the samurai stuff.
All the samurai stuff. That's right.
That's great. Yeah.
So you got into this because you, as a kid, were being bullied.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a specific program.
Right. I have a structured curriculum. It's called Bully Busters. Our curriculum starts out learning why a bully acts that way. It also, we start out teaching the kids what a bully is, who can be a bully. Bullies come in all shapes and sizes. So we kind of identify the bullies first so that they can recognize it when it happens. And then we go into why they act that way, what they really want, and then what you can do about it. We give them 12 alternatives to violence, like make a friend, use authority, tell a joke, use a little humor, different tactics to kind of de-escalate the problem. We also tell them that one solution is not going to be the answer. They have to use multiple things. So we do this by setting up role plays and skits and acting out little scenarios that they may get into. And it gives them practice on how to use this stuff.
Wonderful.
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Amy. Well, I've used to be. I had a school down in Lincolnton for about 15 years back a long time ago. And when I was down there, I was able to get into the school systems and go and do school talks about bullies and what we're talking about now. And it was real successful. The schools really were receptive on it and picked up on it, and they really enjoyed it. And the kids got into it too. So it was really a good program. Here, I guess since after the pandemic, I'm not sure really why, but the schools and doesn't seem to want to get involved with a martial artist. Per se, because they look at all martial arts as, well, Cobra Kai. It's not. They look at it like everybody's going to be punching, everybody's going to be kicking, everybody's going to be fighting, and that's not what school systems want. I found that I'd love to get into the schools again. I found possibly a connection. I don't know, but. The schools just don't want to. They don't seem to want to make a solution. They just want to put a Band-Aid over it, and that's not helping the kids. The kids go to school every day, and they have these problems. They have them, and I'd love to get out and do more in the community with this program. It just seems like I'm hitting roadblocks here and there.
Yeah, that's really frustrating for you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually gave my curriculum to the school superintendent for Hickory City, and I never heard anything else from them. And followed up with them a couple of weeks later. Never really heard anything from them. So it's I understand that they're limited in what they can do and what their approach is, and they only have a certain amount of time in a day that they have to get the curriculums that they have to teach out, and they don't have a lot of time. But when a kid's going to school and they're stressed out because this guy's picking on them and he's coming down the hallway and they get all anxious and start sweating and trembling and the fear takes over, that's not conducive to learning.
Can I ask you a question right there?
Sure.
You mentioned that Aikido was a great way to do some self exploration and self discovery.
Hmm.
And now you just mentioned what it really is like when you see that bully in school. And like, I think we've all had a bully. Like, I can remember mine, there were two in middle school. I can
Mm.
remember distinctly. And one girl just flat out told me she was going to kick my ass when we went to go get on the buses. And I was
Hmm.
afraid. I
Oh
was
yeah.
really afraid.
Yeah.
And sort of watching out to see if the coast was clear to get from the school to the bus, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and
Been there,
it
done
doesn't,
that. I know exactly where you're at.
right? Yeah. And just because they're 13 or 14 doesn't mean that it's not a real like fear and you
Yeah.
really do feel threatened. And so when you just described that kid who
Yeah.
is in anxiety and fear, my question to you is, does the self reflection in your program address how they feel right there and what to do with that?
Absolutely. I spend a lot of time with the kids because having fear is a good thing, but it can really limit you in what you can do. Decisions that you make, emotions alone, any kind of emotions, anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, any of that will cloud your judgment and cause you not to make proper judgments. So, what we do is we teach the kids how to I'm not going to say take the fear away, but how to control it and use it for their benefit, as opposed to lashing out and trying to just hurt someone because they feel frustrated. Here's the vicious cycle. Let's say let's say I get picked on at school, all right, and I feel bad about it. I didn't do anything. I didn't stand up for myself. My dad told me to stand up for myself and don't take this crap from people, and that's all well and good. But a middle school, a 12, 13-year-old kid doesn't know how to do that. So what we do is we take them, they get picked on, they feel all this anger, this frustration, and they feel like they need to let that out. So they go home that afternoon and they get off the bus and they go in, and it might be just something mom says that they lash out at mom for. They jump on her, and because it makes them feel better about what's happened to them. So then mom gets upset about it. Dad comes home. Comes in the door, hard day at work. All of a sudden, mom's jumping on him because little Johnny over here had a bad day and jumped on her. And then dad goes to little Johnny. Johnny goes back to school the next day, and the vicious cycle keeps going around and around. Somewhere in that cycle, we have to learn to break it and stop it. So, what we teach the kids is when they're feeling those anger, frustration, anxiety, we teach them to breathe and calm themselves down. Okay, it's called Kihon Chinkan in Japanese. It's called calming the inner self or calming the spirit. Okay, and it's done by just really kind of like a yoga breath. Take a deep breath in, release everything out, relax, and then think about what you're going to do, say, or the actions you're about to take before you take them. That way they get a little bit clearer insight on what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And Fran, I think that I'll ask this question to you. Do you see this in your grown-up clients? Because I see this in my grown-up clients.
I just wrote that same note. I was like, if they learn this as a kid,
Yeah.
what amazing, like throughout their life, the trajectory of this is going to be amazing for them.
Right. I had a bully yesterday. Got on my Facebook page, wrote a real ugly comment about one of my ads. Okay. And, and I understand, I look at things differently now because when I see something like that, I used to get really mad about it and just fly off the handle and lash back out at them. And that's not the answer. I found that out the hard way. But what I did was I invited the guy to come to my class and see the difference in what he does and what I do. And because education and knowledge is the key, if they can understand what real martial arts, and when I say real martial arts, it's stuff that you use on the street. It's not a sport. A lot of martial arts today are sport oriented, tournaments, that kind of thing. And that's not really what you need to use on the street. By using our bullying program, we teach the kids to de-escalate the problem first, using their head first before it ever gets to a physical level. Once it gets to that physical level, we teach them techniques that are effective enough that they have the confidence to be able to use the mental stuff first. Then they know that if it gets bad and it gets physical, they can still handle the situation and get the person on the ground. Excuse me. I had a young lady. She's one of my best students. She was at middle school, and she was. This girl was just at her all day, every day, and it was really getting to her. And so I gave her a couple things to do. Well, those seemed to work temporarily, but the girl finally cornered her in the bathroom, and it got physical. Well, I was so proud of Emily. She went in, and the girl reached for her. She did one simple technique, took the girl down on the ground, and told her, said, "Listen, I'm not the girl you think I was last year. I am a whole new person. Do not touch me again." And now they're friends. And that's usually the way it works. When a bully is picking on someone, they want a reaction. They want to get something out of it. All right, say, all right, Fran, call me a name, call me something, anything.
Pete, you're such a jerk.
Oh, you're right. I am. I got up this morning and I looked in the mirror and said, "Pete, you're a jerk. You really are a jerk." Mm-hmm. By agreeing with them, it takes the fun out of it, and they tend to. It gets them thinking about something else. It's a distraction. Okay, like I was a bouncer for 21 years, and in a lot of places I should have not have been, but I was there. And it was my job, but in those situations, the objective in that environment is to have everybody have a good time. And a lot of times these guys would come up to me and they start giving me a hard time. And I say, "Look, dude, it's not that bad." Have one guy say, come up to me and is in a local bar here, and he said, "Dude, I don't know why you were looking at my girl like that, but I really don't like that." I said, "First off, let me explain something. I'm not looking at your girl. I'm looking at the fight that's starting behind your girl. And if you really care about her, you need to go get her away from this before I get over there, because it's going to get bad." And it did. But just giving them something else to think about
Mm-hmm.
is the key. Not giving them what they want. They want you to get upset. They want you to get mad. They want you to start screaming, crying, something. That's the effect that they're looking for. And if you don't give them that, they tend to get bored and go somewhere else and do it to somebody else. But then we also take the bullies and we
That's going to
make
be my
them
question.
leaders. Okay? We teach them that having the power that they have and the knowledge that they have and the assertiveness that they have is a good thing, but it's got to be used in the right way. And we teach them how to use that and become leaders. And it's not leader and follower, it's more leader type of situation that we teach.
So, Pete, let me just make sure I get. So, you also work with the bullies.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, do you help them understand kind of what's underlying their need to bully? I mean, I know we.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised when we get to that point in the curriculum. It's like I can literally see the light bulbs go off in the class. I'm going, wow, okay, he got it, she got it, yeah. So yeah, we tend to let them understand that what they're doing to other people first isn't right, and second, it's no means to an end. There's nothing to get out of it that is going to benefit anyone. Once they understand what they're doing, they tend to realize and say, "Oh wow, I was really a jerk. I've done it. I've done it myself." A few years ago, I was really bad on Facebook, and I get these memories that pop up on my Facebook feed, and with stuff that I wrote, and I'm going, "Wow, did I really write that? Yeah, I was really a jerk back then." You're right, Fran. I was a jerk. Okay, so, but it's really teaching the bullies that and teaching them to understand that what they're doing isn't an effective way to live a good life. And that's what it's really all about, is living a good life, having good relationships, having friends, meeting people, and getting along with everybody.
I have a question. I can see that if my kid were getting bullied, I would definitely be like, wow, a martial arts program that is purposefully defensive and non-aggressive and has a component of self-introspection would be like, check, check, check. I need to find one of those.
Right, right.
I'm not sure how the bullies come to you. Is it suggested from a guidance counselor? Is it parent driven mostly? Is it the bully?
Well, sometimes every once in a while it's the bully, but because they want to come in, and this is what it really disturbs me sometimes, because the bullies want to come in and they want to learn how to kick somebody's butt, okay? And we don't do that. So but most
Do
of the
they come to you
time
on
it's,
accident?
yeah, most of the time it's parent driven. Every once in a while, we'll have a school counselor reach out to me or something. But most of the time, like I just signed a young man up a couple of weeks ago, and he was getting picked on. But the problem with that is, and what his grandmother and his mother didn't realize, is that when he was getting picked on, he was turning around and picking on someone else. And so now we finding out in the program that he's not so much the victim, but the bully himself.
Well,
So
both, it
now,
sounds like.
Yeah, both.
I'm sorry.
Both. He sounds like he's both the victim and the bully.
Right, right, and that's usually the way it is.
Right.
They're both, but it's like, okay, it's an old Indian saying, you got two wolves inside of you, a good one and a bad one. The one that comes out is the one you feed. So if you feed that bully's going to come out. But if you feed and help the victim gets over it and becomes a better person. And that's the kind of self-discovery thing that we do.
Yeah, I can't help but think of all the emotion regulation you're helping with. And Fran, you can correct me on this because this is your wheelhouse, not mine. But I know that the cases of ADD, ADHD in children are skyrocketing, at least the increase in diagnosis and the increase in medical treatment of those two. And I know they combined them now. But a part of that is a lack of emotion regulation.
Right.
So I can't step past the work you're doing to help people emotionally regulate is also a key component to one of the diseases that now we are diagnosing and treating on an increase from prior years. Is that right, Fran?
Yeah, and actually, that's a fabulous question because I think just expanding on that question is, Pete, what is the larger impact you see in these kids? Are they doing better in school? Are they doing better overall in their sports, in their relationships, in the
Right. Well, okay. Let's take Emily, the young lady I was telling you about. All right. Subsequently, she had to. They moved to Conover, and they had to switch schools. But now Emily is thriving. Her grades are way up. She's an AB student now, mainly because the stress is gone, and the her attitude is she's when she came to me for the first day I met Emily, she was like a little mouse, barely talk, barely look at you, wouldn't, very timid, very withdrawn, very inward. She didn't, she wasn't an extrovert at all. Now, I have trouble getting her to stop talking. Okay. But she's very open now. She has so much more confidence. And that's the real key right there is giving the kids confidence enough to know that they can do what they need to do. And because they never had that.
yeah.
The confidence builder in what we do, when they're able to take me, when let's say a 12, 13-year-old can take me, my size, I'm about 210 pounds, give or take, on a good day. But can take me and throw me across the room with no effort. And you can see the empowerment in them, in their eyes. They just go, wow, I really did that. And I go, hey, that was a good technique. So the empowerment is a big part of it, and it gives them that confidence. And then the confidence spills over into them being able to do whatever they need to do or want to do.
Yeah, I would imagine having them feel empowered like that kind of probably changes all of the dynamics in the home,
Oh,
in
yeah.
relationships. And that, like, when you have a child who is learning these skills, because sometimes even the parents don't have those skills.
Yeah, 40 years ago, I said to my kids, excuse me, when they were first little, I told them, if every kid in school could learn just the philosophy of Aikido, the world would be at peace in one generation. But of course, that didn't happen. So,
Well, I don't know about you, but I think it takes learning and also practice.
yeah,
And
it
that's
does.
where, when you start speaking to empowerment, that is the coaching wheelhouse, right? So
Yeah,
you just stepped into a Fran in my world on the grown up scale, at
right.
least. And you change one person in that household. You
Yeah,
empower one person in that household, the household changes. You
and the
empower
whole
one
dynamics
person in that
change.
friend
Yeah,
group changes.
yeah.
Classroom, Sunday school classes, all of that has such a ripple
Well,
you're giving to people.
another thing that we do with the kids is that I always tell them that if they see someone getting picked on by somebody else, that they should go up and have the courage, and this takes a lot of courage, especially for a 10-year-old, to go up and say, hey, man, that's not cool. You shouldn't do that to them. And try to make a friend out of that bully and the other person. Try to be a mediator, so to speak. But as long when I found that when kids go up to bullies and call them out and hold them accountable for their actions, it tends to de-escalate some of the problem as well. They realize, oh wow, okay, people are looking at me. I'm being a jerk now. I don't want to be that. So, and then of course, hopefully, this will when they grow up, it'll spill over into their everyday life, and then they'll live a better life.
Oh, absolutely. So, Pete, to circle back to trying to get these in the school, trying to get this in the school. Uh, what does that program look like? Because I mean, it sounds like there's so much to teach, and there's, like Amy said, that there's so much to practice, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
kind of coming into the school, one, a,
Well, the unique thing about this program, it was created by a gentleman named Dr. Terrence Webster Doyle, and Dr. T, as we call him, was a child psychologist, but he's also a martial artist and a martial arts teacher. So he kind of come up with the idea of teaching this curriculum in the martial arts school, and then he kind of expanded it a little bit, and he's got it in some of the schools in America, but not everyone. But what we do is, and it only takes about 15 minutes a day in class to do this curriculum. And it's laid out in lesson plans that are geared for 10 to 15-minute segments. Then, and it's really a great curriculum. I've never seen anything like it. I've had it for about 20 years now and been teaching it for about 20 years. And it's just been phenomenal. I've never seen it anywhere else, though.
Okay, let me get real detailed here for a minute. So it's 10 to 15 minutes. Is that every day?
Yeah, it can be, or every other day. It's set up to where it's fast paced. It's one thing right after another. But then in the activities and the workbooks, there's pauses where we take and do those role plays and scenarios and act out the things. And it tells us in the curriculum that, okay, stop here, go to role play 4C and do that. And so we do that. But again, it only takes about 15 minutes a day.
And you go in and teach that. The teachers aren't teaching it.
Yeah, well, I can, but I can teach the teachers how to teach it. It ain't rocket science. I mean, it's really, it boils down to being smarter than the bully and knowing what the bully wants first and addressing those needs. And as long as they get those needs, they're okay. And it usually goes away. But yeah, I could go in. I'd love to, but the schools just don't, they don't want, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit of a liability on their end, that they're afraid that I'm going to come in and teach martial arts techniques. And in my school talks, I never even show a technique. I don't even dress in my uniform. I go in street clothes and we just hang out and talk, But they just not, they're not open minded enough to accept something this new and this innovative, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
right. So it's about educating them, right?
Right,
And
right.
having them recognize actually what it is and what it can do. I mean, how much more could these students learn in a day
Right.
if they
Yeah.
had 15 minutes of centering themselves and calming themselves down and all that stuff? There's been a lot of research about kids and mindfulness and kids and yoga and how that really impacts. And it sounds like this is kind of the same thing, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
expands their minds, allows them to calm down, allows them to pay attention, allows them to learn more.
Whether
Yeah.
they're being bullied or not, they might
Right.
just be
Right.
feeling self-conscious, or they might just may have had a bad day getting in the car for school or getting on the bus for school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That emotion regulation is key. So let me ask again. Well, not again, but further. So it's 10 to 15 minutes every day, every other day. And then how long does that program last? Is it a year round thing?
Yeah, it could go.
Okay.
There's actually 12 lessons, but those lessons are broken up into about 3 to 4 different sections in each lesson. So it could cover a whole school year, and then, the practice of it is key too. You have to practice what we call mental self-defense, just like you have to practice physical self-defense. You don't come into my school and I show you a technique and everything, you walk out and everything's okay. You have to come in and practice that technique and learn it deeply and understand it and understand the little bitty nuances that make it work. Same way with the mental stuff. You have to learn what works, what doesn't work, what's going to set the bully into more action or more violent action. And, it's kind of an exploratory thing. You learn what works for you.
It sounds like an onion peel.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love an onion. When you're looking at learning yourself and reflecting, there's always an onion, right? And in 5 years, you can ask the same exact question and go like, wow, totally different answer today.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There are so many layers. Our system of not only martial arts, but the bullying program as well has so many different layers and it's so complex. It's not anybody can go up and learn to punch and kick. That's simple. I saw a chimpanzee learn to do it. So if a chimpanzee can do it, I can do it. But it's harder to understand when how to use energy. Like, all right, let's go to the physical level. All right. Someone attacks you. They're reaching for you, they're punching at you, they're grabbing you, something's happening. In that motion, there's energy, there's movement, there's kinetic energy that's built up. What we learn to do is take that energy in that attack and turn it around, redirect it, and use it to get them on the ground. And it's so easy. There's no strength, there's no physical qualifications and requirements. If you can walk, you can do what I do. Everything is very relaxed, very calm. Everything is about centering and finding your center. And so it's really a complex thing, and there's so many layers to that onion that keep getting peeled back every class,
Yeah, and Pete, that also sounds like, I know you just explained the physical way that you take somebody's energy and use it against them, but when I called you a jerk, you did the same thing, right? I'm
Yeah,
putting negative energy at you and you're taking it and turning it around
exactly,
and saying like,
exactly.
yep,
It's
that's me.
That's the whole principle and philosophy of Aikido. Aiki, the word Aiki in Japanese is very complex in itself. There are so many different meanings or translations for that word. It means connection. It means blending. It means harmony. It means harmonizing your spirit. It means love. It can mean compassion. It means a lot of different things. But what we do in Aiki is learn to redirect all energy, whether it's verbal or physical. It can be mental energy. Um, I've developed this thing, and I practice it a lot now, where I walk into a room and I feel things. I feel people. I feel. It's not that I can feel what they're thinking, but I can feel what their intent is. Give you an example. At the chamber meeting Friday morning, at the Friday morning brew, oh wow, it's hard for me to walk into those things. Because when I first step in, it's like I'm getting bombarded with energy, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to walk through it and move around. That's why you see me a lot of times just walking around, not talking to a lot of people, because I'm just trying to get away from the energy that's in the room. Because some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's just neutral, but it's all there and I can feel it. And that took me 50 years to figure out how to do. Don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's going to happen overnight. Okay, but it's just something that I've learned to. And I guess it really goes back to my bouncing days. I feel intent when somebody's about to do something. It's not that I can read their mind or
Mm-hmm.
have some kind of premonition or anything. It's just I feel energy and I feel the intent that they have. And that's a big part of what Ikea is learning to feel that energy and that intent.
I had a friend one time say to me, "You can take it all in, but don't take it all on."
There you go.
When speaking
Yeah,
of like some other people's energy, you can observe it
exactly.
and
Yeah,
watch it, but you don't have to take it in. And that also impacts your own emotion regulation.
yeah,
When that spouse comes home and they're frustrated from the long day,
yeah.
you can see it, but you don't have to take it on and then turn around and yell at the kids because you're stressed out that they're stressed out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of that cycle we're getting back to.
Yeah.
Come in, the parents kind of bicker for a minute and then turn around and jump on the kids, and the kids hadn't done anything. They just sitting there watching TV. But it's the release of that inner feeling that makes you feel better about what just happened. And that's what we need as humans, because if we don't, it gets more frustrating. It builds up inside and we don't know what to do with it.
Well, that was actually going to be one of my questions too. So what I heard you say so beautifully is that you help students sort of understand their internal world,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you give them some physical skills for defense, and you give them some like emotional skills for defense, like making a friend or making a joke.
Right.
But what I didn't hear you say, and I think it's somewhere in there, and I just haven't found it yet, is the emotional release. Because I'll tell you, if I was being emotionally controlled and I was, under control and not being wound up by some negative energies or negativity coming at me, and then I came to class, before I could be defensive, I might need to have a stick to beat the crap out of something. Like, I might need to have a
Yes.
movement to get it out. So what do you
Right.
do? I know you must address that with your students.
Yes, we do. And sometimes some of the students come in and I can feel their frustration. I feel that something's happened in the day, especially the teenagers. They don't hide anything. Okay, they're just there and they're open and it's all there. But the release, what we do is they come in and we start working out, going through our warm-ups first. And while I'm doing that, I'm usually talking, because I'm a talker, as y'all already know now. But I'm telling them different techniques. Breathing, we go through a breathing exercise, a calming of the spirit. And by the time we actually get to the techniques, most of them are just calmed down and just ready to do what they need to do. But then there's every once in a while there's one that just has had that bad day and just won't let it go. So what I do is I tell them, come on over here and throw me around a little bit. And they get over there and they start throwing me across the floor, and I'll do my falls, and they realize after about 4 or 5 good techniques, they realize, oh wow, I feel better now. But it is that release, and then you do need that. And if all else fails, we'll get a stick or something. We'll go beat a bag, and just hit one of the punching bags as hard. And I'll tell them, hit it as hard as you can, and just take it all out on it. But you're right, we as people, as a society, we need to have some kind of that emotional release to get those feelings out, because if they don't, it all festers up in there and it all builds up, and then it usually comes out in an explosive way, and that's when it's really bad. Had a boy, well, I had to call him When was it? Saturday. He got suspended from school. One of the new students, and he didn't think I knew. I know everything with my students. If they break wind, I know about it. Okay, I know about it. So he wound up getting suspended from school because he hit a girl. All right. And so I called him. I left a message for him. Called me back. He calls me back. I said, Braylon, what's going on? No, nothing. Just home from school. I said, did you have any trouble at school? No, nothing at all. Nothing going on. How's that bullying problem going? Oh, it's all right. It's going good. It's going good. I said, well, what about the girl you punched and got suspended for? Oh, uh, uh, and then he didn't know what to say because he didn't realize I knew. I said, well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, and then we're going to expand on it a little bit in class next week. And but the holding all my students accountable, we go by a code of conduct. It's called Bushido, and in Bushido, there's 7 virtues. There's honor, respect, courtesy, courtesy, loyalty, duty. Uh, I always forget the last 2, and Emily always reminds me, and she's not here. But courage and integrity, and we hold each student accountable for all of that. If they mess up and do something that goes against those virtues, then that's a learning experience for them. And I expand on it in class, and I teach everybody that virtue. But I make them, they have to do they have to walk the walk that we talk. Mm-hmm. We can't just say it and then not do it. We have to do what we say because that's the integrity part of it. And if I hold them accountable, then they know that I'm their worst nightmare. They would much rather have their parents chew them out than me, because I will sit there. I've had students tell me, please, Kaicho, just hit me. I said, no, I'm not going to hit you. I don't want to listen to this no more, but you have to. But it's really, it's really bad when the parents aren't on the same page, and they're telling the students to do one thing and I'm telling them to do something different, right. And everybody gets confused. So I try to make it a learning experience for the entire family, not just the ones getting picked on. Because if the family's not doing what they need to do, then the student's going to get confused and they're not going to want to do anything. And it's just going to keep on going. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think what's coming across is how invested you are in each and every student. You know, that people...
I go and pick them up, okay? If they're not going to be at class and they text me or something saying they're not going to be at class, I say, what's the problem? I don't have a ride. I'll be there at such and such a time. I'll get you there. Don't worry. But yeah, I go a little bit over and beyond, I guess, what I should, but I take it as it's my job. It's my obligation to teach them as best that I can while I'm still here on this earth. And because once I'm gone, I don't know what's going to happen, you know. So I'm trying to get everybody on the same page, get all the parents on the same page. But, you know, dads are the worst. You know, dads, we're terrible.
Now, okay. What is it about dads that they struggle with that is actually counterproductive to what you are instilling in your students?
Well, dads tend to go the violent path, okay? My daddy, God rest his soul, he told me when I was 6, when I was in first grade, 5 or 6 years old, he told me, he said, if somebody starts a fight with you, you better not run, you better finish that fight. You better not ever start a fight, but you better finish it. So I'm going, okay. I go, what does that mean? He goes, you better beat their butt real bad. I said, okay. And I was scared to death. I was a 5-year-old kid. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know anything. So dads tend to go to the extreme and say, because they want you to take up for yourself, especially the boys. They want them to be men. They want them to be brave. They want them to have courage. They want them to be leaders. But teaching the kid to punch another kid in the face is not the way to become a leader. Okay. And dads just don't get that a lot of times.
I think
Some do, but
sometimes we get very concrete about the only way to stand up to someone is
yeah,
to put power over them, whether it's
right.
physical force
Exactly.
or cutting them a new one with our tongues
Yeah. Yeah.
or intimidating.
I'm guilty.
Me
I'm
too.
guilty.
Me too.
Okay.
I can be a force when this girl
Yeah.
gets hot and bothered and enraged. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and everybody does that, and that's normal. That's a normal human trait that we all have. But it's how we direct that, how we manage that fit that defines us as people. If we can handle it in a good way, then it's better for everybody, and we all actually come out feeling good about it when we do it that way. You know,
Right, because you're not destroying those things
right,
around you, right? Like you're maintaining a connection, or you're building a bridge, or you are not.
right,
And right, I think go back to something you said before. We all, as humans, want to be connected. We want to feel like we have our village. We want to feel like we have our people. And so when you slash and burn, because you are hurt or you are angry, then that is counterproductive.
yes,
That.
absolutely.
So Pete, how you this sounds like an amazing program. How
Thank
would
you.
one? I mean, do you have any openings now? And if so, how would one get in contact with you? How does this work?
Okay, all right. The way it works, we have openings. We always have openings. Okay, I'm not one of the instructors that says in my ads there's 10 spots left. Hurry, get your kid in here, because there's always a spot there. I'm never going to ever turn a student down because of anything really. Money, time. I'll make a way for that student if they really need it to get in there. Here's the process. First thing is go to our website, martialartshickory.com. And that tells all, and I just got my website redone. I'm very excited about it. Carmen Ecker did a really super amazing job on fixing all the stuff that I messed up and got it up and running great. But on the website, it tells all about our programs, and then there's a link that you can click on somewhere on there, and it will take you to just give me your name, email address, and phone number, and that comes into my system. It notifies me on my phone. I contact you usually within 30 minutes or so. And then I will set up an appointment for you to come in and try a class out. And then we go from there.
All right, that sounds pretty easy. Very
Yeah.
streamlined.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have anyone else who teaches the classes, or is it just you?
I have an assistant. I've been blessed. Greg came to me back in July. And Greg's father, I've known Greg for a long time, but Greg's father was a black belt under me 35 years ago. All right. I got him his black belt. And then it was interesting. Greg's wife called me and wanted to know about Aikido, and when somebody says Aikido, they've obviously been exposed to it, because most people don't pronounce it correctly first. But I got to talking to her, and I go, well, how did you find out about us? She goes, well, my husband's dad took Aikido. I said, oh, really? Who is he? And she told me. I said, oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me. So Greg comes in. He's actually my highest ranking student now. my senpai, which is basically my senior student, is what senpai means. And he helps me in the class. Like when I'm working with the little kids on one end of the mat, he's got the teenagers and the adults on the other end. They're going through stuff down there, so that we can kind of split the class up, and I can do the little kid stuff because I'm better with them than he is. So,
What ages do you work with?
I go. The youngest one I got is 3, and the oldest one I got is 51. Wow. Right now. Well, if you count me, I'm 63. So, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, so is there anything? This all sounds amazing, and I really hope somebody in the school system hears this and recognizes the benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so too.
Yeah, on a bigger scale. I mean, clearly what you're doing on an individual scale is fabulous, but if there's a way to expand that, you know, so people who can't make it to your classes or don't have you.
I'd like to invite everyone that is interested just to come in and watch a class, see how we teach it, see what we do. It's pretty, we have a lot of fun. You know, it's not what most people think as a typical martial arts school or class. It's just, we cut up, we have a lot of fun, we play games, we have jokes, it's just a real good learning environment for everyone, you know. My first karate instructor, he was 6'6", big Hawaiian guy. I was a 10-year-old kid and I was scared to death of him. I wouldn't even ask him a question, but he taught me so much. Mm. He taught me that if I'm not approachable as an instructor, my students will suffer. So I've always made it, my students know that my cell phone is on me all the time, 24/7. I tell them, I give them my card, I give them my number, I tell them, if you have a problem, I don't care if it's 3 a.m, call me and let me know, and we'll talk about it. But, you know, it's just, I just think that it's better for the students to be able to learn better in an easy, not rigid environment, you know, especially for kids. I mean, a 3-4-year-old kid, they're scared of me anyway. Look at me. You know?
You're terrifying.
I know.
No, I know that we're getting long on time, and Fran's going to take us on home here in a minute. And I just wanted to really thank you for your dedication to kids who are being a bully, to kids who are being bullied, and to the parents in the community who, you know, it takes a village to raise these babies up.
It does. It does. Well, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed this. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I could go on for hours.
You're very passionate about this because it is such a gift to the community. So thank you. And thank you for being on here to tell us about it. And hopefully we'll get some people. You are located at the Hub in Hickory, which is near downtown.
Yeah, and we train on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and if everything goes right, I hate to say this, but I might jinx us, but we're going to be setting up another hub in Newton, and we're going to have a class down there as well.
All right.
Providing that we get all the logistics worked out and the buildings secured and everything, and it's looking kind of promising now. So,
right. Well, that would be wonderful to spread this out to more people because clearly it's an asset to everybody who takes it. So thank you for being on with us. It was really, really nice to talk with you.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Of course. And for those of you out there listening, if you are interested, check out martialartshickory.com and you can set up an appointment and Pete will get back to you to have you come see a class. And if you've liked this podcast, please comment, subscribe, and like it. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.